Good morning, racing fans. Welcome to day 2 of NHC 2024. We're here at the Horseshoe in the Grand Ballroom. Jim Miller and Emily Gullikson coming to you on the Hawthorne Racecourse YouTube channel. Emily, there were a lot of fireworks in day 1. Day 1 looked like the Marshall Graham show for the vast majority of the day. And then late in the optionals, TJ Sunday came up and passed him just barely. 70 cents was what it took to take down their day 1 in the end. 164.90 for his total. I'll tell you, those two played well. There is a ton of Chicago-based Hawthorne players that are doing very well too after day 1.
Oh, absolutely. And this contest it's 3 days long or 2 days long for the main. It's still so wide open. The people that are in the lead, they're obviously dangerous. They're in a good spot. They probably don't want to change positions with anybody. At the same time, there's a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of board movement at any point. There's people that everybody's trying to play. They're here for one reason. They're trying to win this thing. They're going to be taking their shots. It's going to be anybody's game. Marshall had a big run yesterday. Great play by TJ to get up there. And it's a game of those cents.
Yep.
That 10 cents is the difference of a lot of money at the end. And it's just smart plays, getting lucky. Another big day today.
Yeah, and today's all about the cut line. You want to make that cut, the top 77 entrants get into the possibility to make that final table. So you want to get by the cut line, and that's also the cash line too. But we want everybody to take the opportunity between our live feeds today to go back and look at yesterday, because we talked to a lot of players that are having very good days. Steve Simonovich had a couple of tickets that did very well. Ramon Calzaitis, this is a guy who we talked to earlier on in the day. He's getting mentored about these contests. He had a great day. Mike Wilkening, the guy who won our summer online contest. Leonard Peterson, 2 tickets that are right there. So many players that are just off to great starts too.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the 2 tickets is a big advantage in this tournament, but the biggest advantage of having those 2 tickets is getting those 2 tickets into the top 10.
Right.
There's nothing, you know, we looked at the prize pool today, and this tournament is always so top heavy. This year it's a little bit of a shift. The cut gives you about 10,000,
right.
But once you get past the 15, those jumps are big. And
Yep.
it's a big jump between 15th and 16th place. That's a $10,000 jump.
Yep.
So you really want to get yourself in position. We're talking to some great players this morning, big-time tournament players that know how to win, that are playing to win, and many of them from the Chicago area, as you mentioned, getting
Right.
those 2 tickets up there.
Yeah, and that'll be a lot of fun too. When you look at the room behind us, you got over 500 players that are in the room, over 700 tickets that are out there with the ability to go down and take down that victory, trying to get to the final table as well. But it's a good atmosphere. The way things are lined up today too, it's a busy day. There's 8 mandatory races, 12 optional races. It's a very long day for these players too. We know a lot of guys just got done yesterday, went straight up to start handicapping today,
Yes.
but they have to put a lot of work into these cards also.
It's a ton of work, and you know, for a lot of people that played on Thursday, today's day 3.
Right.
They've played all day Thursday, and Thursday was a really tough tournament.
Right.
There was a lot of play, a lot of races, big scores. Yesterday being day 1 is tons of excitement. So for a lot of people, it's day 3. Even on day 2 is a lot. It's a grind. It's a stamina tournament as much as anything. One bad decision can change everything. One good decision can change everything.
Exactly. We're going to be talking to a lot of players throughout the course of the day on how they handle strategy, because there weren't a whole lot of cap horses yesterday. We had some of the mandatory races where favorites ran 1-2. It was very hard to find that big priced horse. Marshall Graham had one at Aqueduct at 18-1. That was 3 minutes after a mandatory. So
Yep.
a lot of people weren't even focused on the race. When you look at the cards today, you see better conditions at Oaklawn Park. The track's listed as good. It looks like it'll get
It'll
fast
dry
at
out,
some
yeah.
point. Fairground should be the same way. We'll see what happens with weather at Santa Anita later on. It's also a lot of bigger fields. So when we talked to Chris Larmy yesterday, we talked about some of the moves that they made too, taking away a couple mandatories on Friday, shifting some more races over to Saturday. When you look at these cards, it seems like it was a really good move too.
You know, and it's funny because one of the other members of the Players Committee, Dennis DeCower, Hall of Famer for the NHC, I saw him on the elevator today, and his comment was like kind of almost the opposite. He's like, you know, obviously we made this decision based on how it's played out, that we have a lot of big plays on Saturday. Let's move more plays there. And he said from his own, he's like, I don't know if that's going to work out this year because it looks like there's a lot of chalk.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting because especially with, you know, today is a big move day.
Right.
You have to get yourself out there. And if it does turn up chalky, that's going to play against a lot of players, and that's going to play for players. But sometimes when you think it's chalk, it goes the other way. I think it's going to be an interesting day of play for sure.
It's going to put the handicappers to the test too, because we're not looking at any Derby preps today. There's not a ton of stakes races. Laurel has a stakes pack card, but for the most part, I mean, you're going to get such a mix of races. You're going to have first timers out there, maiden races, a wide array of claiming races, and then to your turf allowances. So if people have something that they like to focus on, they're going to be able to today.
Always, yes.
But you see some of these days today where somebody could say, hey, it's chalky, and all of a sudden that 30-1 jumps up there and the room erupts too.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I think it will, and there's going to be players that are hungry for it, that when those shots come in, especially in those mandatory races. You mentioned the mandatories. We do have, what, 8 today? 8
Yep.
mandatory races today, but one of them at Laurel is a 4-horse field.
Right.
So there's not going to be a lot of movement in there, so it's really kind of 7, races, and people, a couple of them, I think there's some opportunities, but still, people are going to have to make some good, smart decisions and get a good run.
Yeah, now we had a great lineup of guests yesterday that joined us. We have another great lineup of guests today. Christy Moore's joining us first, and Michael Beychok, Mike Somich, Eddie Olczyk, Frank and Justin Mustari, Carl Broberg's going to join us today. So make sure you tune in throughout the course of the day. But Christy Moore is going to sit down and join us.
Hey,
and
Christy.
Christy, you've been sitting right behind us. It's a great table of people that you are hanging out with.
Yeah.
But you're having a nice little run in this tournament after day 1 too. How's it gone for you thus far?
It's gone pretty well. I guess I can't really complain.
Yeah.
I mean, it all kind of changed after I hit the that 11 horse, because it kind of doubled the amount of money I had.
The 11
Yeah.
horse, that was at Turfway later, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Holler.
So, okay, no, and we talk about strategy, and this is one of the things I was talking about in the spaces earlier, because in the prior years we hadn't had Turfway,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think that's kind of that's a big switch, because Turfway can be chaotic. You get big fields, and it's late in the day. So there's that. Did you kind of find that? I know you're from Kentucky, right? Or you're from
Indiana.
Or Indiana, but you play that. Sorry, I meant like you play that
Yes.
circuit. Yes, you're from there. It's like
Close enough.
yeah. You spend many hours there, whether you're not in person or not. But how that's going to change, because it's like if people could be saving bullets and it could work to their benefit, but also sometimes saving bullets can be not so good because it forces you. Where did you kind of stand on that going into day 1?
Okay, so most people who know me will tell you that the saving bullets may or may not be my goal, but it's pretty much what always happens to me.
Okay.
Because it takes me a little while to warm up and find the horses that I like. So I had like an outline, and I liked that they had larger fields there, and so I knew that when I got to the end, if I had to make a lot more plays, there might be better chances.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Turfway. It is
Yeah.
like a crazy track that is hard to handicap, but it turned out to go really well.
It was interesting, because I was doing the work on it on Turfway this morning. Sometimes when you're watching live, especially when you're playing, it's hard to just kind of go through the nuances. And it seemed like yesterday, like inside was very good at Turfway. I don't know if you had noticed that. Maybe it took a few, but anyways,
Yes,
I kind of noticed.
There was a lot of tracks.
So
to
the
follow.
11, so like the 11 horse like
He got
came
out there,
over
yes.
and came over to
Yes.
the inside, and that kind of helped as far as that trip. Now, one of the things that when we were talking yesterday and talking about just kind of some other tournaments and like things like that, like you're a cash money player. Like cash money tournaments is sort of your bread and butter, and you're like $2 win place. It's okay, but now, but now you've turned it around. So what do you think? There's some kind of like experience, some kind of transference from like live money into this, and some of the things that you've kind of learned along the way?
I think this is always the comparison that I make. It's kind of like trying to play golf and baseball on the same day. It's 2 totally different swings in my mind. So to go to cash money and then the mythicals, like I don't ever want to play a live money tournament the same day I'm playing a big mythical, because it just messes with my brain. And I always think about, like my dad saying, you can't play golf and you can't play baseball.
It's a great
two
analogy.
different
Like
swings.
as soon as you said it, it made total sense.
It doesn't work for me. But I do think it helps if you've played the mythicals a lot, because you kind of know the feel and you know not to get too like flustered. But it's hard, because if it had been a one-day tournament and you see these 2 leaders up there with $165,
Right.
That's not easy to catch. But because you've got 2 days and so many races, it's a little easier to stay calm and be like, all right, I just need to take my shots. Even if I miss like 4 in a row, we're going to keep trying here and hope that I can hit one.
Yeah.
And then still have a couple left at least to try and build on that once I did.
So you talk about that going into day 2 because you're positioned well after day 1. Did it change your strategy at all for today, or are you just going to kind of follow your outline and your guidelines going into day 2 with 20 races and kind of see how things unfold?
I will probably try and just do the same thing that I did yesterday. Like I set my goal for what I'd like to hit in the mandatories, what I'd like to hit on my optionals, and if I can just do as well as I did yesterday,
right?
And I have 4 more picks today.
Yep.
So even if I only do the same as yesterday, I'm going to be pretty happy.
Well, and that's the thing, because they talked about, even when they were kind of alerting everybody about the cut line, and oh, well, here's what the number was last year, and that. But things change year to year based on how many cap horses you have, kind of how things unfold. Like Emily said, it's really 7 mandatories because there's a 4-horse field for one of the mandatories.
Yes.
So you kind of have to take that into regards too. But your focus, and you see, okay, 2 guys up there, $160+. Does it mean you want to shoot for the moon and try to get to that top spot, or do you want to get to that point where you're sitting, hey, somewhere around 10, 15, 20, knowing that you're going to have some momentum going into the final day?
I think it depends on where you're at for today.
Yep.
So like for me, first, I want to make 50 or 60 bucks where I feel like I'm pretty close to the cut line.
Yep.
And then depending on how many options I have left and what I think of the races that are left, because there are some big fields.
Right.
In a couple of the later races, not so much Santa Anita, unfortunately. But then, yeah, you might take those the bigger shots, because Sunday morning is hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it is hard to make up that money, and it goes really, really fast.
Right.
Yes.
So I would much rather, have a chance like later today to try and be like, all right, I am within however much range of them, or even like 10th, because the afternoon races, if you can make it into the top 10.
Right.
Will be better.
Yep.
And that's kind of the trade-off, right? It's like some people say, oh, I just want to make it to the cut line. I just want to make it to the cut line. But it's like, okay, but you're trying to get to the finish line.
Yes.
So yeah, making the cut line, if you're getting close, you just, it could be playing the difference of a little bit to get you to the bottom, and now you're like, okay, I have a big hurdle, but at least I made that move to put myself in position for 10,000. But if you're in a position where you don't really want to be at the bottom of that cut line.
No.
You want to be somewhere, because the money doesn't really start to get big until about 15th place.
Right.
And then it gets big
Yes.
real fast, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's like if you're down at 77,
right,
you've got a lot of movement. You don't want to be at 77.
No.
You want to be at like 25th going into Sunday.
And I have a slight advantage because I've been 77th at the end of day 2.
Yeah.
And I think last year I barely made the cut.
Yeah.
And then Sunday morning I was like, all right, we're just gonna, like the first 6 or 7 bets, I was taking the 15 or 20 to 1, and I totally picked the wrong track for all the bombs, and I didn't do very well. Laurel, last year was the crazy track, and I thought it would be Gulfstream. But at the end,
But it's the right strategy.
Yes.
It just was
I
the wrong
tried.
track. It was
Yes.
the right way to play it. Yes.
And so when I got to like my last 2 picks, I was like, I'm just gonna try and get a winner and see if I can at least move up, because it's a couple $100 each spot. But at that point, I wasn't gonna catch 10th place.
Right. So no, but you kind of are knowing at that point when you're playing for position versus when you're playing for.
Yeah. But that's what makes like these guys who are up there that have never done this before, in my opinion, extra impressive, because at least I've sat through this, a few times.
Yeah.
I'm not nearly as flustered as I was that first year.
Yeah, you learn stuff and you get experience and maturity. Are you playing one? Do you have 1 or 2 entries?
I have 2 entries.
2 entries. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what is kind of your strategy with the 2 at this point?
So they're $10 apart.
Yeah.
So that's that'll be hard. It depends on how strongly I feel about the race. Like, I live in my world. And Tim will laugh and he'll be like, why on earth did you like that horse? It's like, well, in my world, it's a really good horse. And so if I really like it, I'll probably still play some of them the same.
Yeah.
And then if it's a race where maybe I feel like, I'm not sure, but I think this bomb has a chance, I might play it on just one and then split them and see what happens there and kind of watch it as the day goes by.
But your plan is you're trying to move them both.
Yes.
Keep them both going up. Keep
Definitely.
them both going
That
up.
would be the best.
Yeah. Because sometimes people get in that position where they're like, all right, I might need to just play defensive. And it's like, no, you want to move them.
Yes.
Move them up. Yeah.
Yes. Now, if you were like, way up there, like last year you had a couple people who had 2, and I can understand like defensive on one and trying to move up on the other, but I'm not there yet.
So, and it's funny because we're sitting here, we're watching the race from Gulfstream, the opener. It looks like a 9-1 just held on over an even money shot on top. So when you see that, you're going to see some movement from people. A day like today with so many races, so many tracks, this is going to be constant all day long. So for you, when you have 2 tickets that are in contention, and it's a race like that you haven't played, How hard is it to kind of block out all that noise knowing, okay, I'm not even in that, or are you just sitting there saying, okay, come on, favorite, come on, favorite, come on, favorite?
I come from a family of all boys.
Okay.
Like all brothers, all male cousins.
So you can block it out.
I have only sons. Block it out. I only have stepsons.
Okay.
There's no girls. So yeah, I'm pretty good at just tuning it all out and just kind of trying to sit there.
Right. And you're at a table here with very experienced and very
Yes.
good players.
Yes.
And we talked to some people yesterday who said, hey, we're going to support everybody at our table, but I'm not necessarily going to bounce ideas off everybody at the table. Are you guys kind of the same way? You're all sitting there playing, or are you talking about horses and that throughout the day?
They're all really nice.
Yeah.
They're all really good people, and they're all really calm. So
Yeah.
nobody really like. I really love that.
That's important.
It is. It's
It's
been very
important.
nice to meet
Yeah.
them. But no, like any of them, if I said, hey, what do you think, or do
Yeah.
you like this or that, they would probably give me their opinion. But they're not usually throwing out horses until you put in your picks.
Right.
And then we'll all say, well, usually not me because Tim's bad luck. But then we'll all say who we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who to root for.
And that's
That's-
good too,
that's
yeah, because
good.
then you can start cheering for one another too. I
Yes.
mean, you're looking at past NHC winners sitting at the table, and
Yes.
you got 2 tickets that are in contention. So, and Emily asked that about the 2 tickets. Okay, now let's say you're sitting in this position where you have the possibility for final table, even for both.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something where then you're going to say, okay, I want to make sure I get one into the final table, or are you just going to try to match them up together and press forward?
So it might depend on how many races were left.
Okay.
So if you've got, say, like 5 or 6, and I'm like, all right, I really like this horse that's 5-1, that'll probably get me there.
Yeah.
I might take it on both.
Okay.
But if it was one where I'm like, all right, the rest of the races are kind of, I don't know what I think. Maybe I'd take a shot on one and then a shot on the other one
Yeah.
and try and see. But you hate to hit on one and not the other.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, it makes complete sense. And then lastly, and we'll let you get back to the races, you're looking at a growing female presence in the
Yeah.
NHC, which is good. I mean,
It
this
is.
is something that's awesome, and hopefully it's going to continue to happen. But it's one of those things where everybody seems so welcoming in that. But what would you say to women that want to get involved in these kind of contests and say, hey, I can do this just like anybody else. I want to be able to grow. I want to be able to make my impact on the NHC too.
I would say that it is very easy to get involved. And when you show up, all of the women I've ever met are just unbelievably nice. They're friendly. They're welcoming. They're more than
for
willing
me.
to. Except for you?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Just kidding.
You
No,
are
everybody's
you
great.
are
Yeah.
so nice. Yes. And now I follow you because Tim loves all of your picks. He's like, you gotta be looking at who she's telling you to play. But no, they're all really, really nice, and they are going to like welcome you to your table or help me introduce you to people. And it's not just the women. I mean,
Right.
most of the men are all really nice. Like I
Right.
said, I've met all these people, and the guys from my very first year when I sat at the table, like, I don't know anything. What am I doing here? I've been handicapping for like 3 months. I can barely read the program. They were still some of the nicest people ever.
Right,
And
right.
I still talk to them all, and they sat there and they were just like, you've got this, you're doing great, don't worry about it. And yeah, it is not nearly as overwhelming as it might seem.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it looks like it's a lot of fun. It's a great atmosphere. That's what we want to see. I mean,
Yes.
for you could be a very busy woman this weekend. We saw you're already talking to Dave Weaver with FanDuel, and you're doing stuff there and there. But it seems like you genuinely enjoy it and just getting the word out there to promote and then just talk about the contest yourself.
Yeah, they're really fun. I think that everybody should give them a chance if they want to.
Well, I think they should as well. But Christy, we want to thank you for joining us. Best of luck having 2 tickets today. We're going to be cheering you on. If we see you popping up on the table behind us, are you one that's going to jump up and
No.
down if you have a big price? Or you're going to be silent regardless?
Yes, you're not gonna have a clue.
That's great. I love that.
I'm gonna sit there and I might be shaking, or I might be going under my breath, go whoever go, but yeah.
So if you have a bomber, we're not going to know. And if
Well,
the
we'll know
leaderboard
'cause
pops
we'll see
up,
your name
then
move
that's
up.
the only
That's
way.
how we'll
But that's the
know.
only way we'll know.
We'll see your name move up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank was yelling at me when he showed up this morning. He's like, what happened? He was like, I didn't even know you'd hit any horses.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
I heard
some-
him walk in. He goes, Christy being Christy.
And sometimes it's best to lay low.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
best of luck to you this weekend. Hopefully we're seeing you climb up the board. Hopefully we're seeing you at the final table as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Awesome.
very much
Thank
for
you.
joining
Thank
us
you.
as well
All right.
too. Christy Moore joining us here to kick things off on our YouTube channel this morning at NHC 2024. We've had a couple of races come in. We just had a first price shot.
Yeah.
The 3-horse there
See if
over
it
at
moves
Gulfstream Park
anything.
on 9-1. So we're going to see if we do see some movement. Right now, looking at the board,
Ooh, yep,
TJ
there was a
Sunday
move.
is
There
the
was a
guy that
move.
is currently
Christopher-
sitting in the lead.
Christopher All made a move because his name wasn't in there and he just shot.
Yeah, you are
He
seeing
shot
some
up.
movement that is going up the board as Mike Beychok joins us. Mike,
Hi.
Thanks for stopping by here today. And we were just talking to Christy Moore a little bit about day one and about how there were a couple guys that kind of pulled ahead with $160, but after that, still so much can happen. Everybody's kind of packed together. You got 20 races to play. Where are you sitting after day one, and what's your feelings going into day two?
I don't know where I'm at in terms of the standings, but I think I have $50
Okay.
ish, which is, as you said, I mean, it's certainly. There's a big group at the top, or a small group at the top,
right?
But then there's a huge group in the middle.
Yeah.
You just gotta, you gotta win your photos. You gotta win your 15 to 1s and 20 to 1s. And yesterday that didn't happen to me. I was running second quite a bit. So.
Sure. So looking at today, when's your first play? Have you made any plays
I'm
yet?
going to make a play in the second at Gulfstream.
Okay. So second at Gulfstream, and I've
Yeah.
heard a couple people talk about that, a larger field. That's something that you're going to see on the Saturday cards and that. But somebody said, hey, I was looking at this, and it was one of those things where it was, they said there was like 5 horses in the race that could all pop at a price. Is that kind of the way you saw it too?
Well, it has a bunch of first-time starters.
Yeah.
And so the way I playing this year is I'm going to use mostly first-time starters as optionals because they're low-owned, which is kind of a fantasy sports kind of thing. So if you hit one, it almost like it's a multiplier because there's not too many people that have it, right? Because these players here, they just don't like to play first-time starters because there's no form, right? I feel comfortable doing that, so I'm always looking to play a first-time starter just because if you hit, it's really like a double hit.
Yep.
So there are 3 or 4 first-time starters in the second race. This one's going to be super long, I think.
Well, we can kind of see the board a little bit, but I want to key off that phrase just to kind of emphasize it if people just heard real quick. You called it low owned.
Right.
Well, what you mean by that, and in your case, you're saying it's a first time starter because people don't like to play that. But in some cases, a low owned horse could be a race that nobody's looking at, right? Like, or a race that maybe people pass, or a track that people pass, and off track. Well, I don't like off tracks, and so people will avoid them. And the people that are like, that, a lot of people are going to avoid that. That's going to create an opportunity, right? Like Marshall moving up early in the 18. A lot of people that had the 18 to 1. It was a race that kind of snuck by a lot of people.
I mean,
that was probably
a
low
owned
owned
horse.
Absolutely.
That horse is, I don't know how many entries do we have? 700 or something?
700.
There's no way more than 20 people have that horse.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. But so, I'm looking at the board now, and the 12 he's kind of dead. He's 35 to 1. But
You can't change from that. You can't change from that.
No,
You got to go from
those
that.
are the kind that that if you hit, you're going to just move way up.
Right. So much experience that you've had in the NHC over the course of the years, and you're seeing the growth of the NHC. And you talk about the cut line today at position number 77. Some people are positioned to say, hey, I'm focusing on trying to get to that top 10. Others are saying, I want to hit the cut line type of thing. When you've played this contest so many times, what's your feeling? What's kind of strategy, especially with 20 races today?
So I'm not looking at the cut line. I'm looking at a number. I want to get to 200.
Okay.
If I get to 200, I'm going to make the cut. But if I'm at 160 with a race or 2 to go and the cut's 170, I'm playing to make the cut because you can't win it if you're not in it.
Sure.
So, but I'm playing to get to a number $200, and I think that should be within striking distance of making the final table on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah, because you want to be aware. Just in the last conversation with Christy, it's a tough when you're on the cusp of making the cut. Then you can play for some cash, and then you, like you said, then you have a chance. It's a long shot chance. But right now, you're in a position where you can play to get yourself some cushion in the cut because you want to play to the end.
If I was lucky enough to know that I'm going to make the cut, with 6 races to go today, I'm playing for the top 10. I'm not playing for the to make a little bit more money. I'm going to keep playing long shots and try to get in better position to win it.
Right.
Because that's what that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. No, so you see a room like this and a lot of players that and you kind of know either their style, how they play, how aggressive they are, and that kind of stuff. So when it comes to kind of that mode where, hey, I might be looking to the top 10 or a move possibly to the final table, how much of it is playing the players compared to playing the races too, knowing that, hey, this person I know may be a little bit more aggressive. This person just has kind of churned things along. What's your feeling?
Yeah, no, I play myself.
Okay.
And that's a big enough battle as it is. So,
Well, and the number. You're
yeah,
like
and
you
the
have that
number.
you have that target number, and I
Right.
think that's
I'm
that's
playing
the
the
goal.
number.
to
You
be-
know, so I'm not playing a player until you get to the final table, and even then, I don't know enough about the players and who
Sure.
they are to know. You know, I know Marshall Graham
Yep.
will bet a 20-1. You know, as sure as he'll take his next breath.
Right.
You know, so.
Right.
But I don't know much about those other players.
So, Mike, when you won, what was your score that won?
I
What
think
was
it was
the
like
number?
238, 2 days.
So,
It's 2 days.
2 days. So it's
yeah.
a big difference.
But
so,
it might have been 15 picks a day, 15, I think, something
Yeah.
like that.
So-
So 2 days, 30 picks.
So in terms of like your play and it being just like, I mean, a 2-day tournament is kind of what it is now, but not really. The difference is in how you've had to like evolve along the way and kind of alter from that 2-day format.
Well, I always have tried to play to the number and not
Yeah.
trying to play, you know, moving up the leaderboard, because I think if you get, that's just how simple I want to keep it. If I, you know, feel like I'm low score, then I need to expand my horizon on odds, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
I can't keep playing 5-1s or 6-1s. If I'm really low, then I gotta go to 10s and 15s. So I'm trying to keep it where I don't have to play a 35-1 shot every race. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think I'm still, I'm not. There's no panic. I mean, you know,
Right.
I sure would have liked to have been at 80, yes, for today, because that would put me in a lot better position. But I mean, I'm just looking at the board now, and you know, it's top 100 is probably $90 maybe. Or,
And that's the thing that's amazing. I mean, everybody's so close.
Yeah.
It takes. We saw one 9-1 shot win at Gulfstream. I mean, you do see a lot of movement. It was real late in the day where there was the horse at Turfway Park that provided some movement late in the day. So when you get kind of those races like that, you really have to make that determination. Okay, it's the 4-horse mandatory at Laurel. Nobody's really going to move a whole lot on that race. So I think so much of it comes into those optional races too. So for a player like you, do you have certain tracks that you're going to focus on for the
Sure.
optionals? So
Yeah.
I mean, bigger fields, bigger prices, or is there a certain circuit that you like to play more
I
than
mean,
others?
I don't even hardly look at Laurel.
Okay.
I mean, unless it's a mandatory. I just don't play the track. I don't look at Turfway because I don't play the track. Fairgrounds, even though that's my home track, it's difficult to find some
That
prices
can be
there.
tough. That can be a tough one for sure.
Oaklawn is a track that produces the most long shots.
Yep.
So, you know, I'm always looking at every race at Oaklawn.
Yeah.
I'll always look at every race at Gulfstream.
Sure.
Because they have bigger fields and Aqueduct.
So then how much work you got done yesterday going through a grind, and it's a long day, 20 races today. I mean, was it back to the room last night, dive into the forum, or you're
No,
saying,
it was
okay.
3-card poker downtown.
There you go.
At the Fremont. No, I mean, I don't want to, I'm not overthinking it.
Okay.
I'm not going to over prepare. That's not how I play. I play on a regular basis every day.
Yep.
I'm just going to take the race as it comes, and I'm going to make a quick decision. And if I don't like it, I don't like it. I'm just
Sure.
not going to over prepare. Now, I did look through every race that had a first-time starter today.
Yep.
So I've got 4 or 5 of those. But other than that, I'm just going to play the race. Look at Emily's notes.
No pressure.
No pressure on her to provide good notes more than anything.
And see what happens.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then looking just throughout the course of the growth of the NHC and everything, I mean, not even for what you're seeing for just the contest, but the coverage of the contest too. I mean, you got NTRA out there, we're out here, Steve Bick's out here to get the overall growth. I think that's important because we talk about how the whole industry, it doesn't survive without all the parts, and one of the biggest parts is the player. And I think so oftentimes that's overlooked or dismissed a little bit. So I think that it's a huge importance to see this kind of
Yes.
coverage to focus on the players too.
Well, I mean, the player is the most important
Yes.
part of the game. We're the customer.
Yeah.
And as much as the leadership, I don't want to get political, but as much as the leadership doesn't want to see it, this is a customer-based business.
Right.
And the customer has not been treated well over the past decade or so, and we're seeing the results of that. So Steve Bick and I were just talking about, you know, the first chance, last chance used to be like a 200-person
Right.
thing, you know?
Right.
I mean, that thing on Thursday was like a real,
It was, yeah.
it was a $500,000 tournament or more. I
Yeah.
mean, it was wonderful. We had 800, I mean, those are the sorts of things that, you know, hopefully they can keep growing. I'd like to see a little bit of a change of format here.
Sure.
I know they tinker with it every year, but something that can bring in some live money, I think that seems to be the sentiment of the room. I don't know if it's workable in terms of regulations in Vegas, but I think that should be
Chris
part of it.
Chris talked about something.
Yeah.
I know at least it's one of those things that, as you mentioned, they're tinkering and it's in their ear, and
Yes.
it's not a no. And and as long as you don't have a no, you know that it can eventually get there.
Right.
And I think that is the progression with the tournaments. We've seen, you've come out to Hawthorne, and you've seen people love the tournaments. They love that format. They love being able to play. They love being able to maximize your opinion. If you have a 5-2 shot and you're in the position that you're in today in this tournament, you can't do anything. I mean, we have the windows open, luckily, but as far as the tournament goes, you can't do it. You can't do anything with it.
Right.
Versus live money, you're able to do some damage.
Yeah.
So it just makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're trying, and I know there are regulations, and then there's also, considerations at the hotel. They want you in the room.
Right.
They don't want you to do a pick and pray, because then you're going to leave probably and go somewhere else. You know,
Right.
so those are things they got to, players don't really think about. But I think it's obviously grown. It can grow some more and become a better tournament.
Well, it's a handle-generated industry, so anytime that you can put handle into the windows of racetracks, then it's going to be beneficial for racetracks to want to participate too and put forth their best cards on big days like this. So hopefully everybody can work together and continue to just kind of find a way to kind of make those little bit of tweaks to try to make it better and better each year.
Yeah, I hope so. And I love the Hawthorne tournaments. I was just talking to my buddy who came last year, and he's like, "Are you going to go?" And I was like, "I'm just busy this year." And he says, "Well, I'm going to go."
Yeah.
He's going.
There's
So-
such a good opportunity.
No, it's
and
a
they're
fantastic,
a great
fantastic.
place. So
Yeah, y'all do a great job with
thank
them.
you.
And they're
Thank you.
really
Well,
fun.
speaking of which, you got 7 minutes.
Okay,
So
we're
gonna let you go make your
I don't want to
play.
hold you. I'm kind of watching out of the corner of my eye. I don't want to make sure
All right,
no
thank you.
mistakes. Yeah. So thanks
All
so
right,
much for
thanks a
coming
lot.
by. Good luck.
Michael, thanks for joining us.
Jim.
Best of luck today. 20
Yeah.
plays today. Hopefully we're seeing a move up the board for you.
Thank you. Appreciate
All right,
it.
Michael
All right,
Beychok
awesome.
joining us there on day 2 of NHC 2024. We saw a little bit of movement on the board after a 9-1 shot. Got the job done there at Gulfstream Park early on. Mike's got a play coming up on the far outside, 35-1 in race number 2 at Gulfstream. And you're going to see, Emily, as we're getting more and more of these prices coming through, a little bit more excitement coming through. That was a heavy sigh, Mike. Why the heavy sigh?
It's a long weekend.
It is a long
I
weekend.
don't think people realize the stress that goes into this.
Yeah.
Because part of it is, okay, you got to out-handicap everybody.
Sure.
Right? That's one thing. Then you have to make the right decision. And you spend 9 hours a day here and you're making a decision every 5 minutes.
Right.
Inevitably, you're going to make some wrong ones. And I just made a wrong one, so I'm sitting down.
What happened? Where did you end up?
So I tagged that Gulfstream race, the first one
Yes.
is playable, and I was between 2 horses, the 3 and the 6. And
the 3 gets
I went
it.
with the price, the 20-1, the second time mod horse, and figured, okay, he's got one of the 2 favorites. I think it's a willing play. I decided to go with the 6 instead of the 3, and of course the 3 wins the photo. So you're sitting there
Right.
like, well, that's $30, you know.
Yeah.
And so you go through that process of where you have to be able to make a mistake and then rebound off that mistake.
Sure.
And hopefully find that next price so that you can try and climb the leaderboard as quickly as possible.
So as far as like your decision that's going into making the decision between, what was it, 8-1 versus 20-1, right?
Yeah.
It was that 8-1 horse. What was that decision-making process, just in terms of what you have now and what you were trying to get out of making that decision going forward today?
Yeah, I mean, you're go shooting for a number, right?
Yes.
You need to get to about $180 if you want to make the cut today. I had an atrocious day one. I'm at $16.40. Because I made a lot of bad decisions in day one. It was the same situation. So in that case, with 12 optional bullets, the 19-1 is so much more valuable for me
Right.
specifically.
Yes.
Because if I want to make a move, I need to be able to jump up quickly. And playing a horse that's 9-1 doesn't really help me as much as that 16-1 shot, especially when I'm in a race and I'm deciding between 2.
Sure.
If I like one horse and it's 9-1, that's a different story. Like the 5 here at Oakland, who hopefully gets to the wire first.
All right, we're rooting for him, yeah.
Then if I have 2 horses that are that drastically of a price delta, then I kind of have to move toward that price delta.
So you're saying this is an optional play of yours running right now?
Yeah, I played the 5 here as an optional play, second time starter, showed some speed in his first start.
Under a hand ride that just ran by the favorite.
This would be a good way to get the momentum going here. We got to hold off the 9, it looks like, on the inside
But
there.
here's the thing about Oakland. Oakland's going to play completely differently today because yesterday was a muddy track.
Yep.
Today's a drying out track, so it is going to play differently. So this is kind of a beautiful move for you, actually, the way the horse gets that trip.
Yep.
But you're going to see a track where you talk about Oakland, and I'm sure that's going to be a great return for you. But a day like today when you focus on certain tracks, it's okay.
They had the wrong odds on that horse. I don't know if you saw that, but they had the odds on the horse when it was in running, at least on that other graphic, as 8-5.
Oh, they've been messing with that. Their odds have been wrong
That's what I
all
was
day.
like.
But it looked like 9-1 at the end.
9-1 was the payout.
Yeah, but like
it was 14-1 when I bet it, but it's fine.
What does that graphic look like right there? So it looks like 8-5.
It does. It gets a little blurry in there.
So, that's what it was like when you were watching the 5. I was like, why?
Well, he was 8-5 at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, one of the reasons I want to talk to you because I know you're one of the players in the room that like you're in it to win it.
Yeah.
So like when I was like, that's weird because I know Mike is trying to win.
Right.
Why is he trying to grind at 8-5? But like a good 9-1 shot right there kind of gets you some momentum.
It gets me going, right? And it's nice to make a right decision because part of this is just confidence in the momentum and like what races do I pass, what don't I pass, how do I make a run? And I'm fortunate. I was able to final table this 2 years ago.
Okay.
And this kind of talks to that style of kind of how I want to play this. I had $0 on my entry after day 1. And I won day 2 with $167 and made the final table off it. I'm swinging. The entire weekend, I'm swinging. And so it's going to be either you're at the top or you're at the bottom. And you like, it's funny, I hear people like, I don't want to be in last. I'm like, honestly, if I'm in last, I probably played it right.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It didn't go well, you know, so.
It's so funny because we talk about like handicapping the players and I had that conversation. I was like, Mike's either at the top or he's at the bottom. Like I'm already handicapped, like, you know, and the thing is like, that's what makes you so dangerous, players like that, because like they're all gonna take shots. They know that they're playing to win. They know that there's not a give up point.
No.
You know, there's a play to the end. Yeah, so that's.
But what's interesting, because I said, like, I mean, your move there was on a horse that was 14-1 that paid 9-1. You are going to have a large contingent of people here today that may have been in the same position as you after day 1 that are going to say, okay, it's going to be nothing but cap horses all day long. I'm picking nothing but cap horses. We're to realize it's 20 races over the course of the day, so you can sit there and 9-1 is a beautiful number. It's going to be a big move.
And a good price place too, with the 9-1 finishing second.
Give me. I sat down. I said I got 20 bullets. I'm going to hit 5 10-1 shots today.
Right. And if you can do that, you're going to be in that position to move on.
And if I end up getting a couple places along the way, if I find a 20-1 I really like in that first at Gullikson, I'm like, okay, I'll take a shot.
Sure.
And if that hits, then watch out.
Exactly.
So when you look at the format, things have changed just slightly. A couple mandatories taken away from day 1. You've shifted over to some optionals for day 2. This is a long day. It's a really long day. So are you going to try to hold some optional bullets till the end and say, in case I have to make that move, or are you just going to go with where you find those spots to play and just play them?
So it's going to be fluid.
Okay.
If I did very poorly early, and now we're kind of outside of that, then it's any 20-1 I actually like.
Okay.
Then because then I would be in a situation where if I go through half the optionals, I don't have a score yet, I need the 20-1 shot now. I'm not going to be able to get there with 5 10-1s because I'm probably not going to be able to find 5 10-1s if I've only got like 8-10 plays left.
Right.
So then that would change the style of it, and I wouldn't hold one. If I start to make a run here, let's say I tag 2 more 10-1s in the next hour and a half, then I'm going to start backing off some plays.
That's a great place price there for you too. I mean, you got what, 10+ bucks?
Yeah, I just tripled up.
But in a tournament like that, where you're going to talk about everybody around the cut line being within just a handful of dollars, anything like that is a big deal. Getting a favorite to run out there when you're able to get that big place price is something that helps too. So when you're looking at the board, are you going to check the board to see where you are at any point, or are you just going to say, hey, this is the number, I want to go for the number, and that's it?
Maybe if I have one optional left and I'm right at 160 or something like that, and I've got to worry about the cut, but like for the most part, to me, everyone could do their thing. I'm going to do mine, and I'm going to trust that if I'm in the area I want to be in, that it'll work out. Now again, as we get later in the day, got a couple optionals left, I'll take a peek. Am I on the cut line? Am I above it, below it? What do I need to do? But at this point, I can't control what they do. I can just put up the best score I can put up right now. And so for me, that's where the focus is.
I think there's so much to that. There's a lot of people that haven't kind of made that click in their mind to play for a score.
Yeah.
That you need to play for a score. That it's like, I'm going to just play who I like, and then I'm going to see what happens. And it's like, you got to have a number, and then being able to adjust to that number, you know. And you said it. You're like, I'm in a position right now where I can play those 10-1s.
Yep.
Doesn't start working, it goes that way. And you probably had a plan on day 1, and also had a plan A on day 1, a plan B on day 1, a plan C on day 1, and it's like now it's just kind of falling into whatever plan that you're in to get to that number.
And the experience has got to help too, because you have been at the point where you've been zeroed out after day 1 and said, okay, I'm not going to freak out, and I can still find that way to get there too.
I did have a different style on that day too.
Sure.
I started drinking Bloody Marys like immediately when I got to the room, and then made this monstrous run.
So you enjoyed yourself a little bit more.
Part of it, and it is a stressful weekend.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, you are making so many decisions, and you're making so many wrong decisions too. I mean, you're going to make wrong decisions multiple times during the weekend that it can grind on you. And I played first chance, last chance every year, so that's another day
That's 3 days.
that you're going through
day.
this, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of handicapping. You're looking at 140 races in 2 days. Like you are really all into this, and you need to sometimes have the outlet to let go. And so, yeah, Saturday, the 2 years ago, it was an alcohol-fueled run, but it was a hell of a run.
So this year you have one entry. That year you had two, right?
Yeah.
So does that kind of play in your mind a little bit different, or does it not really matter because you kind of play them the same and then split late?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the 1 versus 2 entries, I think, I personally think you should be playing all your optionals the same.
Yeah.
And you switch up your mandatories so that you have essentially 2 tickets unless you really like a horse in the mandatory. You can help cover yourself better in case there is a bomb in those and you don't lose ground against the field. But you want to be in a situation where you're able to actually imply game theory at some point to having 2 entries. And if you are wildly different, if one's at 120 and the other's at 40, the game theory of having 2 entries loses its value. You're essentially 2 single people versus 1 person with 2 entries.
Yeah.
And if you don't accurately play the right way on the first day, you put yourself in a situation where it's highly unlikely that you are going to be in a situation late where you can play different horses in different ways. So.
Oh, what's the
booing?
Yeah.
What just happened? They must have made an announcement like lunch is late or something.
You know what? There's some chuckles after, so I'm guessing they're having a little bit of fun. But here's the thing: it's such a long day that you have to have that ability to just kind of sit back and not take it too seriously at some point where you're hanging out with buddies or you're walking around chatting or that kind of stuff too. So do you take that in as well because you've done the NHC numerous times? Hey, I'm gonna go see my buddies. I'm gonna talk. Take a little bit of time to just visit also.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of my favorite parts about playing tournaments is the community of it.
Yep.
Right? The fact that, you have a room of 700 people, 600 people, whatever it is, competing against each other, you're still rooting for each other. I don't think people realize that the camaraderie that you get from playing these tournaments. I played at Lone Star with a table with 4 guys. I'm still friends with them. They're all in the room. I played NHC with the same 4 guys the last 4 years. I played BCBC with a group of people. I'm friends with them as well.
Yep.
So I literally see 50 people this weekend that I don't see maybe once or twice the rest of the year at other tournaments, but you have a 3-day span and you have so much time here that you get to actually talk to everybody and see everybody, and that to me is one of the biggest values of being here at NHC. It's actually hanging out with people who like betting horses all day that you can talk to about this kind of stuff, because let me tell you, your day-to-day life, I'm sure you two know this, you just don't have that many people that are passionate about horse racing. And so to be in a room with 500-600 of them, it's pretty cool. It's
or even like in the elevator and you see somebody with a lanyard and you're like, hey, how are you doing? Where are you from? And it's like you would never just randomly on somebody in that. You're like, we have this bond already and we have something to talk about. And it is really special and a good time.
So I love NHC. I realize there's some people have some knocks against it, and I understand that, but it's a blast, and I think there's a lot of ways you can get in now, so you can kind of decide how you want to make your way in, if it's at Hawthorne, if it's at another live tournament, if it's through points, whatever it is. There's enough entry points now that I think there's a good way to get in there for everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
And the ability of the NHC and NTRA to show that ability to want to tweak a little bit. So at least they're taking insight, saying, okay, yes, what works, what doesn't, what legally can we do, what can't we do? But they have made some moves, which is going to make today even more exciting because of 20 races too.
Yeah, the additional plays today, I think that was a great move. I love what they did tomorrow, making everybody play the final table. I mean, you stay for the final table, but the buzz is just different because it's 10 people playing those races, not 600, and now it's 600.
Right.
So you're going to get more energy in the room. I think that was a great decision for them.
And it makes it, you're here for a weekend. It's a weekend in Vegas where you're kind of away, like you say, from everyday life.
Yep.
Take advantage of that. It was first chance, last chance, and then it's all the way through. So you make this, I mean, it's a 4-day event now, which is one of the things where it used to be for some 2.
Yep.
So having that 4-day event is something that's really cool. But Mike, we want to wish you the best of luck. You're off to a pretty good start today.
Hey,
So when's your next play? How long till your next play?
Well, I considered the 6 here. I decided not to go with the 6. That was a speed play, but I didn't think he'd make a lead. He's pressed here. I don't love him in the situation he's in on the inside.
Yeah, he's kind of trying to raid him.
I mean, I have every horse in green is a possible play for me today.
Okay.
So that's
comes
what
down
I
to
did.
price, comes down to
Everything
position, all that.
everything is possible. There's no one that's locked in.
Okay.
I loved the horse at 12-1 yesterday. Went off at 9-5 and won for
We
fun.
saw that.
Like, what are you gonna do?
We heard a lot of that
Yeah.
chatter though. Horses at long prices that ended up going off at short odds. It
Yep.
seemed like that happened time and again.
And Tony Joe, who you know as well, right?
Yep.
Like I think one of the things that he's talked about a lot is knowing being a player in today's game, what your final odds are going to be.
Yeah.
Watching this race, and hopefully.
And this is chaos here. We had Michael
Yeah, it looks
Beychok on. He was actually on the 12 this race as a price. But look at just massive chaos. The 8 horses at price.
Somebody get by, okay.
11
I was
4 to 1, right?
impressed for you. I was like, no more bad decisions.
Yeah, come on, let's not do this to me now.
But so and that's the last thing to just talk about here before we move on to our next guest. A lot of people had race 2 at Gulfstream pegged
Yeah.
as a chaos long shot race. So when you sit out of a race like that and it's 4 to 1 over 7 to 2, do you take kind of a little bit of sigh of relief and saying, okay, that was
We're
a decent
growing.
move?
The confidence is growing right
Yeah.
now. We just got to,
and that's a good one too,
Yeah.
because probably people playing this race didn't play those top 2,
No.
so
No.
they burned a bullet.
They were all
they burned a
exactly.
bullet.
So you're plus one there, right?
That's like two good decisions.
See, there
You
we
had to-
go.
you had to
3 in
kind
a
of-
row.
You had to kind of sweat it a little.
Due for a
They
bad
made you-
one now, but
No,
that was 3 in a row.
no, you're due for a run, Mike.
I like
but
it,
hey,
I like
thank you for joining us
course.
today.
Yeah.
Best of luck. Hopefully for a big day 2 move
Yeah.
for you too.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
You got it.
Good
Thanks for
luck. All
coming. Mike Somich joining us here on day 2. The guy sat down at the table with us and hit a 9 to 1 shot, Emily. That was 30 plus bucks for him there because of the big place price. You're going to see a lot of those moves throughout the course of the day too.
Yeah, and now his total, now he's at 50, and 50, that moved him up from, he was at 666, easy number to remember, to now he cut the field in thirds.
Yep.
And a good player, you know Mike Somich.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Eddie.
How are you?
Are you
I'm not anywhere on. We got to keep scrolling for another 5 minutes.
It'll scroll
But
quick.
I did have my first play today. Just ran second at Oaklawn.
Okay.
So I'm happy.
Hey, how are you, my
buddy?
friend?
Nice to see
But
you.
hey, no, but this
Hi.
is good that you're sitting down in this position because we were just talking to Mike Somich, who said
Yeah.
he's had a contest before where day 1 he was at 0,
Yeah.
and he won day 2
Yeah.
and made it to the final table. And then even today he said I had 16 bucks after day 1,
Yeah.
but then it was a 9 to 1 shot there. When you have 20 plays today,
Yeah.
it's something where you're never out of it by any means. There are a couple guys with big numbers, but it still seems like a huge pack.
Yeah, I mean you're right, Jim. You have you have the mandatories and you have your optionals, and I think it depends on the philosophy that you have of do you start playing horses that are maybe in your second or third tier because you are trailing. But I mean I think I'm old school, and I know what I like, and the board will probably tell me how I want to approach it, but all you need is you both know, is you just need one horse to be a cap horse, or to be able to to move up $35, and all of a sudden now you start believing again that you have a chance to make a run. So
We literally just had that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Mike. He came in today with 16 bucks,
Yeah.
hit a 9 to 1. Now he's at 50, and he's
Right.
like, I got momentum. I
Yeah.
got some confidence on my
Yeah.
side. Got my bad decisions out of the way, and everything turns around.
Yeah, I'm at 40. I think I'm at 43 plus now,
Okay.
because I came in, I think, at 35.66, and I just hit a 9 to 1 shot. I was a little disappointed. I guess I'm going to be a complainer now, but a little disappointed in the place pool number, but which is fine. But like yesterday for me, I mean, I had 2 wins. I had 3 seconds. Unfortunately, I had 5 thirds.
You had a bunch of thirds. I remember talking about today.
But that's what it is. Like, you can't in this type of format. You can't afford to have horses running third.
Right.
Because obviously they don't pay for it. But I think the one positive is that I feel like I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can turn some of those thirds into places, or obviously wins, and then see what I can do. I mean, I kind of figured, when you look at the board, I mean, I probably need to have probably like $140 type of day.
Sure.
But in 20 races, if you do the math, you're going to
It's
have to,
doable.
you're going to have to hit with at least 15 of the 20. But are you going to hit all 15 winners? You're not. I mean,
Right.
it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you can tally it up and get right, at least you give yourself a chance. And that's all my goal was, is to try to get to Sunday.
And we know you can hit a price because
Yeah,
you hit a
yeah,
40,
yeah,
you hit a
yeah.
40 to 1 winning the Hawthorne Invitational,
Yeah.
which can get you there.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Every once in a while you get a little lucky, and a little different tournament, obviously, with the cash,
Right.
with the cash tournament. But like, I never thought in a million years that I think it was Central Command. I think was the name of the horse.
Yes.
I'd never thought in a million years the horse would be 80 to 1. Like, I thought maybe 35. I thought maybe 40.
And
at
you
the
talked
max.
about it coming in that day.
Yeah,
at the
that was
start
the
of
one
day.
horse that I really liked a
Yeah.
lot. And I mean, sometimes you got to just take what the track gives you. And thankfully, to everybody at Hawthorne, there was no capping that day. So on the winner place pool.
But you
or the
mentioned that
prior,
already.
the exact
yeah,
goal.
yeah, right. Yeah.
You've had a lot of contest success,
Yeah.
but it seems like it's more kind of that live money
The cash,
type of format there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when you qualify for something like this, you said, hey, it works out with your busy schedule to be able
Yeah,
to come
yeah,
this year.
yeah.
How does that change in format kind of affect you? Is it something where you said, okay, it may not be my wheelhouse, but it's a cool experience?
Yeah, it's probably a combination. I have had some of my better scores in the live tournaments, cash, as far as that type of aspect. But I do like playing the pick and pray and those type of things. But I think I only know one way to handicap, and it really doesn't matter to me what the horse's price is. And I learned a long time ago is that the horse doesn't know their price when they're running. So.
Yep.
But again, I mean, obviously there's a lot on the line for everybody in this room, and I think everybody came into these first 2 days of saying, just give me a chance to get to Sunday, and then everybody's so good and has that ability to be able to do it. So, but I don't think my philosophy really changes as far as who I like.
Yep.
But I think as the day goes on, I'm alive to the 4 here at Tampa. I just took a shot with a speed horse, but I didn't like the price. It's still a little low. But anyways, I just pick who I like, and if I take my 4 to 1, then I put it in the bank and then go from there. Because like we said,
With
if
20
you have
plays,
20
yes.
plays. Like if you do the math over the course of the day,
You have to average
you
$7
get
a race.
15, and
Yeah.
you get average 10 or 11, and then all of a sudden you kind of go from there.
So you look here, I mean, the 4 horse gets out of the gate well.
Yeah, the horse is. I thought the extra distance would be good, and
actually the
know.
price,
Yeah,
the
I
price
was
went
gonna
up.
say,
a little bit.
the horse
that's
is
a
fine. I mean,
playable number for
the
sure.
concern is going to be, it's kind of like when I played in the NHL. It's like when I would get to the 8th pole here, all of a sudden the lactic acid would set in every once in a while. But if I had a breakaway, I got a little faster though, Jim.
Well, so when you talk about just your experience, not only being a public figure in that, but when you get here in a room around horse players, it seems like everybody's just so welcoming, and yes, they want to come up and chat, but it's not like you're constantly having to be hockey.
No.
You can
But
sit here
there
and
are,
talk horse racing
I've seen
too.
Flyer jerseys. I've seen Bruin jerseys. I saw a Ranger sweatshirt.
No Blackhawks?
No Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Not yet. I did see a hat though earlier today.
Okay.
You know what? I'll take my chances from here with this 4 horse.
Yeah.
Well, and you put away the other speed.
Well, I
in the
don't know.
10
I mean, you
horse
just
there.
got to stay on the rail here
Right.
and just keep going.
But that's been interesting because Tampa's been a little bit different this year for the
Come on
way
with
the
this
track's
fork.
played.
Dig in.
So we'll see. But
Come on, got to get going here.
Gotta
You're
change
still
the
Come on,
lines,
keep
get
going.
it.
So
Come on.
here's
Hold
what I
on
love
here.
Is you're battling on.
And then you got a 16 to 1 coming.
Come on.
You need.
Get up for a second. All right.
That's
So
a point.
But here's the
this-
good
that's-
thing.
and there was
this
a
might
16 to 1
this
that-
might be $9 place horse.
And that's
here,
what
you
you
know?
said over the
But
course.
that could move things because
Yes.
it was a $16 to 1 winner.
And over the course of 20 races, like you said, if you can average $7 a race
Yeah, right.
per day
Yeah.
or per race,
Yeah.
you're going to get to that
Yeah, you're gonna get
140
there.
number.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad number to
Yeah.
see. Now, we talk about the board, and we were talking with a few different players and said, okay, you had a couple guys up there at 164
Sure.
after day 1.
Yeah.
And then it was a whole lot of people bunched together. But the thing that I found the most interesting too, and it's been out of a lot of seasoned players, they said they're not really playing against the board. They're playing towards a number.
Sure.
So for you, I mean, it's your first NHC,
Yeah.
but you're still kind of looking at the same thing, a certain number that I
Yeah.
want to hit. And it's
Yeah.
not looking at the names up on the board by any means.
No, because I mean you got some obviously really talented handicappers, obviously, and proud to say a lot of them are from our great city
They
in
are.
Chicago.
They
You know,
are.
we got a lot of. I like to call them broken down horse players, but I mean that's it's right in my wheelhouse. And
Let's go
but
blue collar.
It's a lot.
Let's go,
Well,
yeah.
you know what though? I like the old school.
the
I'm
immortal
showing-
words of
I'm
Dave Feldman,
I'm
yep.
showing my stripes,
Yep.
Emily. So, but I just you're obviously you're playing against everybody in the room, but I mean, I think when you look at it, and I think as the day goes on, you're going to really get an idea where all of a sudden, if you have a couple of optionals in your back pocket, then you can all of a sudden, then you can approach a little bit differently towards the end, where maybe you're going to sit there and go, I'm not going to play a 5-1. If I want any chance to get tomorrow, I gotta get to the 12-1 shot or the 15-1 shot, and so. But it's very manageable, and like you said, so right now I've played 2 races.
Yep.
I've had a 9-1 run second, and that was 8-1, right?
Yep,
at Tampa. So I've had 2 horses run second.
Okay.
So hopefully, if the first one was $780, and now this one, if I can get $9 out of here, all of a sudden now I've picked up over the $50 mark, right. And so now I got a little momentum. Like I really feel like I'm seeing it well, but just haven't been able to kind of just get one of those. Like I need one right now that's 10-1 or higher, to be able to really add on, and then once you get into a $100 range on today, I believe, is all of a sudden, if you got a lot of races to go, now all of a sudden you might have the confidence and say I can get to 180 or 200, and it depends on how tracks are playing too. Like, do you want to play races that have 6-7 horses in it, or do you want to wait and look for the horses or races that got 11 or 12?
And then the challenge with that too is then you think, like, even though you don't know the other players and how they're going to play, that's out of your control, but you have to have some knowledge of the fact that a lot of players are looking at those bigger fields.
Sure.
So like at that race at Gulfstream that just came up, there's a lot of people that were taking shots.
Yeah.
They're playing those races that are big field. Michael Beychok used the term like low owned, races that there's not a lot of people, or there's horses that are not a lot of use.
Sure.
One of the things I want to ask, as far as being like you're obviously played a lot of tournaments, but first time NHC, and you experienced day 1 yesterday. Yeah. Was there like that moment in the middle of the day where everything's kicking off and there's tracks going left, right, and what that experience is like? Because it's something when it all kind of goes at once.
Yeah, I think when it really hit me was the first mandatory race, because you could hear, and like I've been lucky enough to be at the old Chicago Stadium before your time, I'm sure, Emily, but like when you would play a game, like I was lucky enough to be a fan for the Hawks and then play as a Blackhawk for many years, but you could hear the crowd as one start rising, and there was no better feeling in any building I've ever been in.
Yeah.
And yesterday when I was sitting here, and like I said, I've qualified 3 other times, but unfortunately in my real world, my hockey interfered with horse racing, which kind of makes me angry sometimes, but I haven't been able to get off for the NHC. But so this year I was lucky enough, my bosses at TNT and in Seattle with the Kraken, they allowed me to have the weekend off, but it was that point of the first mandatory race yesterday where the tone and the feel in the room got to a place where like, now I see from all the video I've seen over the years, is like, okay, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
We're all watching the same race, and we all have a different, arm in the battle.
Yeah.
That to me is where I kind of felt like, okay, I've made it, and now let's do something about it, and let's just get to Sunday.
Well, and it's one of those things too, where when you see so many people come together in the support of horse racing, that we talk with Mike Beychok about how you don't do this without the players.
Right.
You need the players to kind of help grow the sport.
Yeah.
Command Central wins for you.
Yeah.
And that video goes out there and goes viral because of your excitement level, because nobody else had it. But I think it drew interest in racing, because now you can go on when we sports talk radio or whoever, when you're in a game, to throw out a horse racing reference here or there is something that I think helps draw people to the sport a little
Well, that's
more.
what I tried to do, is obviously when NBC had hockey, and we still have the Derby and the Breeders' Cup, we had the Triple Crown, we only got the Preakness and the Derby now, but I was always able to cross-promote, when we're doing hockey or, doing horse racing, we talk, and vice versa. So I've always kind of tried to be an advocate and an unofficial spokesperson for the game, and always show my passion for the love of it, and I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. So I think there is that opportunity to be able to do that, and I do want to say, if my late mother, who passed away a couple of years ago, I apologize, because my mom would have been upset at the end of the video because I dropped an F-bomb on there.
You can beep that out.
I understand that, but I'm sure my mom was looking over, and she probably was very disappointed, and she used to call me Bozo, so I'm sure she probably would have said, Bozo, that's not you. Don't. Okay, Mom. Okay, but I was excited.
At least you got you thinking
when
of her
I was excited,
in that moment.
I said, Mom, we would have went to dinner and we would have, had some fun.
But it's the beauty of that thinking.
It was authentic. Like, what I mean, and that's what I think
yeah.
about this. The people in this room and our game. I think when you do, it could be a score of whatever, like, I had it at the Invitational at Crestwood and Hawthorne, or it could be the NHC, or it could be just somebody sitting on their couch.
Right.
I think it is very organic, and say that word very slowly, right? I've tried that on the air one time, and it came out another way. So let's just make sure.
This is YouTube. We got a lot of flexibility.
but it's like I think the people in this room and this game, I believe, is, and it's both winning and the other.
Yeah.
It's not just winning. It's like you can have real raw emotion, and I think it relates to the real world. And to me, that's why I love it so much. Yeah.
Well, Eddie, you're 2 races in today. You got 18 more bullets to fire, and you're starting
more tomorrow.
that move up the leaderboard.
We still got dug myself a hole here, though, Jim. But
again, not a whole lot going on up top.
I just need one.
You're not out.
I mean, like I said, my goal would be to get that at $100 mark with 10 races to go.
Yep.
And I'm like I said, I'm off to a good start. I didn't see the official place price of that horse at Tampa, but I'm
sure it'll be good.
So it's good. But thanks for having me. It's always good to see you. Nice to see the Walshes and Rhonda.
They're busy studying over there.
Dakota. I know
away.
we liked the same horse at Oak Lawn a little earlier, so that was good for John. And I'm looking forward to the.
We're going to see
if I get an invite,
you
back,
have an open invite, my friend.
Defending champion.
I think if you win, it's an automatic.
I should come in like
Yes.
Brett the Hitman Hart and just like with some
get a big belt,
big ass belt, and some big glasses and a
we can get theme music and some spotlights
and just walk in. And
that would be fun.
Like,
I would be into that. I would be into that.
Come in like this,
Why not? It's supposed to be fun.
That's
supposed to be fun.
That's not me.
I look forward. Cheer for horses.
Oh no, I cheer for horses, but I can't come in there with glasses. And, it's like the World Series of poker.
Well, like you said, it's got to be organic. It's got to be you. It's got to be that feel.
I just got
1080 is the
Whoa,
place.
1080. That's
1080,
a hell of a price. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, 200 a place is pretty good too, Emily. So we'll put that into the bank account. The grandkids' birthdays are coming up, so I got to make sure I take care of them.
It's crazy that you got grandkids.
True, and I got another one coming in July.
You're not that old.
Yeah,
you're doing good.
But it's always good to be with
Eddie,
you guys.
thank you.
Right,
Best of luck.
Thanks.
And,
thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Always great to see you guys.
You got to keep Dom in line, my friend.
He's my. I
already saw him with a Bloody Mary.
He's my muscle.
Saw him.
Say hi to Tim for me too.
We will for sure.
Appreciate
Eddie
it.
Olczyk joining us here on day 2 of the NHC, and I'll tell you, Emily, you're looking at. We've had a couple of races, a couple of guests, and a couple of nice hits, and that's one of the things that's been really good. But the way people are playing is interesting because day 2, you get the larger fields. You can finish second and get a $10 return, and that's worthwhile, especially when you know how close things are going to be around that cut line too.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of movement. Oh, Tony moved up right there. Tony moved up. He moved up both his entries, so he definitely had that 16-1 shot at Tampa because that horse. And we talk about the 1080 to place on an 18-1. He 35.80 on the win in, $15 place. Tony had it on both entries. Moves up. Another player plays at Hawthorne. Has 2 entries in the top 5 right now.
And this is interesting too. And there's the thing. You see the $1 million mark that pops up there twice in the top 10 now.
Yes.
There's only one place that's offering the $1 million to people, and that's if you were a qualifier through Hawthorne. You win a Hawthorne contest and come here to the NHC, and you don't realize how hard this is. I mean, there's 700 plus entries, but when talking to players and they're talking about having the double entries, you almost have to play them in unison there and then see kind of how things unfold. And you're seeing it right here with Tony too.
Yeah. Because I mean, Tony knows. Tony knows the value. He knows that he's in this tournament to win. He's one of the players that we talked about, like Mike, that's going to play to the top, not try to make the cut line, not try to eke, not try to get the name on the leaderboard.
Right.
He's in it to win, especially with $1 million bonus, And he's playing both his entries the same. There's some separation, so he might have done what Mike said in one of those mandatory races, split a little bit, try to get some coverage. Right. But for the most part, he's trying to get both those entries into the top 10, especially since they're both $1 million bonuses.
Right.
Get both of them in there, and then you have a major advantage. Then you've got 2 of the 10 entries.
Right. And here's the thing, in talking to Eddie Olczyk, and like he mentioned, I mean, it was an old term by an old Chicago sports writer, Dave Feldman, the broken down horse player.
I've never heard this. Tell me about this.
And it was a Chicago term for those guys that just went to the track every day, played horses every day, played races every day, and people followed Dave Feldman for years. but Eddie mentioned it kind of in an endearing way in the fact that think about
It is
how many
endearing.
Hawthorne-based players, Chicago-based players are doing so well in this tournament. I mean, we've seen Steve Simonovich. I mean, we've seen all these other guys. Tony's up there right now with a $1 million bonus. These are very good handicappers, too.
I tell people all the time that all the best handicappers live in Chicago. Why do you think I moved there?
Well, there you
I
go.
mean-
Add right to the list.
This always been tough, always been good players, and they are showing up and
Right.
coming out to the tournament. Yeah, that was a big leaderboard move that last
And
race.
I think it's the benefit, too, just to the tournaments that we offer at Hawthorne, because we have so many different tournaments throughout the course of the year, so many different kinds of tournaments that we offer. I mean, Mike Welkening got into this contest off the online tournament and was able to qualify. He had a good day one.
Yeah.
Eddie gets in off the Invitational, where he can go in and play a live money tournament and have a big tournament, and that's kind of the way that people have played here. We got horses running down the stretch. I'm guessing that's Oaklawn Park. Is that race 3 at Oaklawn?
It wasn't. I think the favorite was the 2, but I think that the horse that finished second might have been the second choice.
Okay.
Yeah, 3-1.
Okay,
and then
so-
it's 6-1. But the 3 was on the lead for a while, the 11-1. So that might have been a.
All right, so we're getting ready to wind down segment 1 here of our Saturday show. We're going to have 3 segments throughout the course of the day, so we're going to be back in a couple of hours, and then another segment later in the afternoon. We'll be grabbing different players throughout the course of the day, and it's interesting because you want to focus on guys at the top of the leaderboard, but you want to talk about guys that are trying to make that move. Mike Somich was a perfect example, a guy who's lived it. He went from 0 to the final table, and he's making a move today, so I think you have to talk that strategy throughout the course of the day, too, for these players.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it with. It's almost like it tails off on the end of day 1 talking with Matt Miller.
Yep.
And Matt, and you asking like, what are the chances of these people to stay
Yep.
in there? And Matt's like 0 because it's so wide open, because you have so many good players that are 1 horse away.
Right.
Or they're 1 10-1 shot from moving their momentum. Tony, he was way off the pace
Yep.
today. Way off the pace. He hits 1 and now it's like, oh man.
Right.
That's
But-
a big player that moves up,
And
and,
when-
it can still be wide open.
Yes, and with 12 optional races today, 8 mandatory races, so many things that can happen, so many moves that can happen too. So we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back in about 90 minutes with another fresh set of guests. Carl Broberg is going to be joining us later in the day. Frank and Justin Mustari are going to be joining us. We'll have a lot of guests coming in. I'm sure we're going to have so much moving on the leaderboard too, Emily,
Oh,
because
yeah.
the first of our mandatory races is just around the corner. But things are going to start picking up. It is. It's a fun room here. We're having a great time, Emily.
Yeah, it's a good Saturday. I'm looking forward to the next session. We'll take a little break, and we will be back.
Sounds good. We'll see you shortly.